1 year. 15 names. One shot at stardom. We're digging into the actors who had their big break in 1970 and then never made it back. No fluff. Just facts, film reels, and vanished fame. Mark Lester. He had a big moment in the late 60s. He played Oliver in the 1968 film Oliver, and everyone knew his face. The movie won Best Picture at the Oscars, and Lester was suddenly a teen star. By 1970, people expected even more from him. That year, he starred in Eyewitness, a British thriller about a boy who sees a killing scene but isn't believed. It was his first serious role. No singing, no cheerful tunes, just drama and danger. The film had some buzz, but didn't do well in the US. Without a strong box office run, it didn't help Lester much. Fans wanted another Sweet Oliver. Instead, they got a quiet kid in a darker movie. It confused people. Casting directors started to look elsewhere. By the mid-70s, Lester's acting career was nearly done. He tried a few more roles, but nothing stuck. By the time he hit his 20s, he was out of the spotlight. No scandals, no big comeback. Just gone. He later became an osteopath and ran a clinic in England. His short career shows how fast Hollywood moves. 1 minute, you're the face on every poster. The next, you're a trivia question. Lester didn't mess up. He didn't crash and burn. He just didn't fit the mold anymore. And Hollywood doesn't wait. In 1970, Mark Lester was supposed to prove he could grow beyond child roles. Instead, Eyewitness marked the beginning of his fade-out. It was the year his star quietly dimmed. Tissa Pharaoh. In 1970, she got her big chance. Her sister Mia had already made headlines with Rosemary's Baby, and Tissa was ready to break out on her own. That year, she starred in Homer, a low-budget drama about a rebellious teen and his struggles with adulthood. Tissa played the love interest, and while her screen time was solid, the film barely made a dent. Critics gave it little attention. Audiences skipped it. Just like that, her breakout faded. Tissa didn't give up, though. She kept acting throughout the 1970s, mostly in horror flicks and European grindhouse films. Titles like Zombie, 1979, and The Last Hunter, 1980, gave her a cult following overseas, but back in the US, she remained a mystery. She had a strong look, moody and sharp, but never got the kind of roles that build a Hollywood career. Unlike Mia, Tissa never had a studio backing her, no PR machine, no Oscar nominations, just scattered roles in low-budget films that never found a wide audience. She retired quietly in 1980. After that, she completely vanished from the spotlight. No interviews, no memoirs, no conventions. She chose privacy over fame. Tissa's story isn't about crashing and burning. It's about how easily Hollywood overlooks talent without the right push. In 1970, she stepped into the industry's spotlight for the first time. But the light didn't stay on long. She had one chance to stand apart, and then the door quietly shut behind her. Gary Grimes. In 1970, he wasn't famous. But that was the year everything began. He filmed Summer of 42, a quiet, nostalgic coming-of-age film about a teenager's first love. When the movie hit theaters in 1971, it became a surprise hit. Grimes, with his wide-eyed innocence and low-key charm, became an overnight teen idol. Critics praised him. The film was nominated for several awards. Grimes earned a Golden Globe nomination for Most Promising Newcomer. It looked like a star was born. Studios rushed in. He was offered roles in Class of 44, The Spikes Gang, alongside Lee Marvin and Ron Howard, and Cahill U.S. Marshal with John Wayne. But the roles were all the same. Sensitive, quiet boys on the edge of adulthood. Grimes got tired of it. He didn't want to play the same character over and over. He also didn't care much for the fame machine. So, in the late 70s, he stepped away from acting. No drama, no scandal. He just walked out. He worked with his family in the petroleum business and avoided the spotlight entirely. He rarely gave interviews, but in the few he did, he said he had no regrets. He liked having a normal life. In 1970, Gary Grimes was a complete unknown. Within a year, he was one of the most talked about young actors in Hollywood, and a few years later, he was gone. Catherine Burns. In last summer, 1969, her quiet, intense performance got her an Oscar nomination. By early 1970, she was on every producer's radar. But then, nothing. She did a few TV appearances, a small role in Red Sky at Morning, and voice work on animated shows. That was it. People blamed Hollywood's weird logic. She wasn't glamorous enough for leading roles, they said. Too serious, too subtle. She didn't fit the mold of what a female star should look like in the 1970s, so she got passed over. By the mid-70s, she stopped acting altogether. In later interviews, she said she didn't like the way the industry worked. It made her anxious. She chose a quiet life instead. Burns's story is a hard one. She didn't crash. She just never got the shot she deserved. 1970 was supposed to be her moment. Instead, it was the point where Hollywood stopped looking her way. Christopher Jones. He had matinee idol looks and a James Dean vibe. In 1970, he starred in Ryan's Daughter, a big-budget drama with director David Lean. Everyone thought this would make him a star, but behind the scenes, things were rough. Jones clashed with Lean. He was grieving the sudden loss of his partner, Sharon Tate. He barely spoke to anyone on set. His performance felt distant. Some said he looked broken. When Ryan's Daughter came out, it did okay. Jones got some praise, but he was done. He quit acting right after. No press tour, no follow-up role. Years later, he said Hollywood was fake and he hated the machine. He lived a quiet life after that, rarely appearing in public. In 1970, Christopher Jones had the looks, the role, and the buzz, but he didn't want the fame. And unlike most actors, he didn't fight for it. He let it go. Yvette Mimu. By 1970, she had already built a reputation. She dazzled in The Time Machine and Where the Boys Are during the 60s, often playing soft-spoken, elegant women. But that year, she tried to pivot. She starred in The Delta Factor, a spy thriller that was supposed to be her big move into grittier territory. It didn't land. The film was clunky, rushed, and didn't know what to do with her. Critics didn't hate it, but no one raved. Audiences didn't care. Mimu looked beautiful, as always, but the material gave her nothing to work with. Once again, she was cast as eye candy instead of a real character. She stuck around Hollywood a bit longer, dabbling in TV movies and the occasional feature. But by the late 70s, she started pulling away. She eventually turned to writing, co-authoring a few TV scripts and stepping out of the acting grind entirely. Mimu was smart and well-spoken. She once said the roles offered to women at the time were beautiful dummies. That summed up her career in a sentence. She had the screen presence, but not the roles to match. In 1970, The Delta Factor was her shot at changing the game. Instead, it locked her into the same image she was trying to escape. That year didn't end her career, but it froze it in place. James Aubrey. He made a big splash in Lord of the Flies back in 1963. He played Ralph, the group's reluctant leader. It was a raw, intense role for a young teen. The film became a cult classic, and Aubrey's performance got serious attention. People expected him to grow into a major actor. By 1970, he was still chasing that momentum. He appeared on stage, did small TV parts, and stayed active in the UK scene. But his film career? Nothing big. No breakout follow-up. No signature role to match Lord of the Flies. The problem? Aubrey aged out of child roles, but the industry didn't know what to do with him as an adult. He wasn't a leading man type, and he wasn't quirky enough for character roles, so he got lost in the middle. In the early 70s, he worked in British theater, including Shakespeare plays and BBC dramas. Talented? Definitely. Visible? Not really. By the late 70s, Aubrey was off the radar. He returned for small parts in later years, but never regained that early spotlight. In 1970, James Aubrey was still considered that kid from Lord of the Flies. He just couldn't outrun that label, and Hollywood never gave him a second title. Mimsy Farmer. In 1970, she had a name that stuck, and a face that lingered. She had just starred in More, a 1969 film about drugs and obsession, which built buzz in Europe. It wasn't a US blockbuster, but it made her a cult name among the counterculture crowd. So what happened in 1970? She tried to ride the wave. That year, she leaned into the edgy vibe, appearing in low-budget thrillers and European co-productions. She played wild, unstable, mysterious women, exactly what was selling in art house theaters. But American audiences didn't follow. Instead of climbing the Hollywood ladder, she became a star in Italy and France. Giallo films, crime dramas, artsy horror, she did them all. Directors liked her intensity, and she worked steadily through the 70s. But in the US, she faded fast. She wasn't on talk shows. She wasn't in tabloids. She wasn't part of the mainstream machine. By the late 70s, she shifted gears again, this time into sculpture and art restoration. She left acting completely in the early 80s. Mimsy Farmer didn't disappear so much as detour. In 1970, she had a real shot to go big in the States, but the roles didn't match the moment, and she followed the work where it took her. Susan George. She was on the verge in 1970. British, blonde, and already known for playing flirty, provocative roles, she had built a rep in the UK film circuit. That year, she starred in All Neat in Black Stockings, a cheeky, offbeat comedy that flew mostly under the radar. The film didn't make waves. It was one of those edgy British comedies that never crossed over to the US. She played a street-smart young woman who turns heads and plays hearts. George had the charm, but the film had no muscle. It didn't move her career forward. That same year, she took smaller parts in TV and low-budget features, building up to her biggest and most controversial role in 1971's Straw Dogs. But in 1970, she was still trying to shake the label of eye candy and land something with grit. All Neat in Black Stockings could have been her breakout, but instead it got buried. It was the warm-up act that never got applause. Her later career became tangled in typecasting. She was either the sexy girlfriend or the troubled wife. Few roles let her stretch. By the early 80s, she faded out of film and focused on charity work and horse breeding. In 1970, Susan George was right on the edge. She had the look, the talent, and the timing. But All Neat in Black Stockings didn't give her the launch she needed. It was a whisper of a performance in a year full of louder voices. Fabian Dean. He isn't a name you'll find on many marquee lists. In 1970, though, he landed a notable role in The Lawyer, a legal thriller based loosely on the Sam Shepard case. Dean played a supporting role opposite Barry Newman, and for a second it looked like he might break through. The film itself wasn't bad. It had tension, pace, and solid reviews. But Dean's role wasn't built to shine. He had screen time, sure, but not a spotlight. Still, he was visible enough that producers took notice. Yet nothing came next. There's no scandal, no tabloid headline, no career-ending moment. Dean just didn't catch on. His name didn't stick in casting rooms. He quietly exited the business not long after. No big farewell, no second act, just one film and a fade-out. Some say he was more interested in stage work, or that he didn't chase fame the way others did. Whatever the case, The Lawyer ended up being both his debut and farewell in terms of big screen recognition. 1970 could have been a springboard. For Fabian Dean, it was more like a quick dip. He's one of those blink-and-you-miss-it names, forever tied to a single credit, a single shot, a single year. And for a video like this, that makes him a textbook one-hit wonder. Joanna Cameron. In 1970, she seemed set for stardom. She starred opposite Bob Hope in How to Commit Marriage, a comedy about love, divorce, and the changing times. It wasn't a huge hit, but it put her on the radar. She was funny, photogenic, and held her own next to a comedy legend. Studios noticed. She was offered a long-term contract by Universal. That kind of offer usually meant more movies, bigger roles, and a steady climb up the Hollywood ladder. But the climb didn't happen. After a handful of minor roles, Cameron ended up on Saturday morning TV instead. In 1975, she became Isis on The Secrets of Isis, one of the first female superheroes on television. It had a cult following but didn't lead to film success. Cameron stepped away from acting in the early 80s. She later worked in nursing and healthcare management. No tell-all memoir, no comeback tour, just a clean break from the business. In 1970, How to Commit Marriage could have been the beginning of a long career. Instead, it was her footnote. She's remembered by a niche fan base, but the mainstream never really caught on. Her case is classic, all the right pieces, just not the right roles. Patty Duke. She was already a name by 1970. She won an Oscar as a teen for The Miracle Worker and had her own sitcom by age 17. But her post-sitcom film career hit a weird spot that year. Me, Natalie, released in late 1969, earned her a Golden Globe and kept her in the public eye into 1970. It was a serious role, a character study of a young woman figuring out her place in the world. Critics loved it. It was supposed to mark her transition into adult roles, but it didn't stick. Despite praise, the film didn't lead to more big-screen roles. Duke ended up doing mostly TV work throughout the 70s. She was talented, but Hollywood didn't seem to know what to do with her as an adult. Behind the scenes, she was battling bipolar disorder, something she wouldn't publicly discuss until years later. It affected her career choices and availability. The industry at the time had little support for that kind of struggle. In 1970, Patty Duke was still respected but oddly stalled. Me, Natalie should have opened doors. Instead, it became a turning point that didn't turn. She later found stability in TV movies and advocacy work, but in the world of feature films, 1970 was the last time her name was in real contention for lead roles. Leonard Whiting. He became instantly recognizable in 1968 when he played Romeo in Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. Girls screamed, critics approved. He had a fresh face and serious buzz. In 1970, he was still riding the wave, appearing in talk shows, photo spreads, and early casting conversations. But no major roles landed. He was offered a few projects, including Say Hello to Yesterday, a romance where he played opposite Gene Simmons. It came out in 1971, but most of the filming was done in 1970. The movie flopped. Audiences didn't connect with it, and Whiting's image as the dreamy romantic lead didn't evolve. Hollywood cooled fast. He did some voice work, TV movies, and European features, but nothing matched the cultural impact of Romeo and Juliet. Zeffirelli had made him a star, but also boxed him into a very narrow type. By the late 70s, Whiting had more or less stepped away from acting. He returned much later for niche projects, but the momentum from 1968 was long gone. In 1970, he needed a strong follow-up. He didn't get it. Whiting is still remembered for one role, one performance, one iconic film, but the career that should have followed never came. Sharon Frell. She was everywhere in the late 60s. TV shows, supporting film roles, magazine spreads. She was a working actress, always circling the big time. In 1970, she co-starred in The Reivers, released late 1969 but carried buzz into 1970, and took roles in projects like It's Alive and various thrillers. She had the look, approachable, sharp, and expressive. Directors liked her, studios kept her busy, but she never got that role, the one that makes a career. In 1970, she was doing everything right. Solid performances, dependable presence. She could do drama, comedy, even horror. But she often got stuck playing the girlfriend, the mom, or the pretty but troubled woman. The film industry at the time wasn't great at giving actresses like Farrell the room to shine. She was good enough to work, but not big enough to headline. As the 70s wore on, Farrell moved more into TV, where she stayed active for decades. Soap operas, detective shows, guest arcs, she made a living. But the stardom she brushed up against in 1970 never fully landed. She didn't burn out or walk away. She just stayed in the supporting lane, never pushed to the front. 1970 should have been her breakout. Instead, it became the year her career plateaued. Michael Sarazen. He had all the ingredients: brooding good looks, solid acting chops, and a hit with They Shoot Horses, Don't They? In 1969. That film earned multiple Oscar nominations and made him a face to watch heading into 1970. Everyone expected him to explode. That year, he followed up with Sometimes a Great Notion, acting alongside Paul Newman and Henry Fonda. It was a prestige project. He also took roles in smaller features, trying to balance art and career. But something didn't click. He never fully connected with American audiences. Some critics said he lacked charisma. Others pointed to his quiet, low-key energy, which worked in brooding roles but didn't scream leading man by Hollywood standards. He kept acting through the 70s, often in offbeat or downbeat roles. He never disappeared, but his name didn't carry heat. He was always almost there. In later interviews, he admitted he didn't chase stardom the way others did. He took projects that interested him, not roles built to boost fame. That may have cost him. 1970 should have been his leap forward. Instead, it was the start of his slow fade. He's remembered by film buffs, not the masses. A talented actor whose moment was real, but brief. You know their names, but do you know their secrets? Joan Fontaine sabotaged her own sister's career. Veronica Lake's bad attitude got her blacklisted. Marlene Dietrich could end careers with a single phone call. These actresses weren't just famous, they were feared. And by the time you hear what they did, you'll never see them the same way again. Joan Crawford, A Mother's Nightmare. Joan Crawford had everything: Oscar-winning talent, leading lady status, and an image of elegance. Off-screen, a different story. The rumors about her strict and abusive nature weren't just industry whispers, they came straight from her own daughter. Christina Crawford's mommy dearest painted a brutal picture: emotional torment, physical punishments, and a terrifying obsession with cleanliness. That wire hanger scene? It wasn't just a dramatic touch for the book. Christina claimed Joan went into rages over minor infractions, once yanking her out of bed for using a non-padded hanger. Then there were the infamous nighttime inspections. Christina and her brother had to be spotless before bed or face the consequences. By the time Christina released her book in 1978, Joan had already passed. She couldn't defend herself, and her fans dismissed the claims as exaggerations. But for those who knew her best, the perfect mother image was just another Hollywood illusion. Bette Davis, Feuds and Fierceness. If she disliked someone, they knew it. If she respected them, they still weren't safe. She once said, "Hollywood wanted me to be pretty, but I fought for the right to be me." That fight often turned into a full-on battle with directors, co-stars, and anyone who got in her way. Joan Crawford was her favorite target. On the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Davis reportedly kicked Crawford so hard in one scene that she needed stitches. Crawford retaliated by adding weights to her costume so Davis would struggle to drag her in another shot. It wasn't just Crawford. Davis clashed with nearly every actress she worked with, including Celeste Holm and Miriam Hopkins. Off-screen, her personal life was just as turbulent. Her 4 marriages ended in disaster, and her relationship with her daughter, B.D. Hyman, ended in a tell-all book that painted Davis as a cruel and manipulative mother. Marilyn Monroe, the diva treatment. She wasn't known for being mean, just impossible to work with. Co-stars and directors learned quickly. Patience was mandatory. Lateness, forgotten lines, and emotional breakdowns turned every shoot into a waiting game. Billy Wilder, who directed her in Some Like It Hot, famously said, "She was a nightmare, but a dream on screen." That summed up the Monroe experience. Take after take, she botched simple lines like, "Where's the bourbon?" But when she got it right, no one could deny the magic. Co-stars weren't as forgiving. Tony Curtis compared kissing her to kissing Hitler, citing the endless delays and attitude shifts. Laurence Olivier, who worked with her on The Prince and The Showgirl, was so frustrated by her that he vowed never to work with her again. Katherine Hepburn, a force to fear. She didn't do small talk, didn't do Hollywood games, and definitely didn't do fake niceties. She refused to play by Hollywood's rules, dressing in men's trousers when women were expected to be in gowns and openly dismissing publicity stunts. When a columnist criticized her style, she responded by walking into the studio in her underwear, daring them to return her stolen pants. On set, she controlled every aspect of her performances, often challenging directors and ignoring stage directions. Spencer Tracy, her longtime partner, tolerated it, but others, like Humphrey Bogart, found her unbearable. When they worked together on The African Queen, Bogart called her a bossy schoolmarm and accused her of taking the fun out of filming. She clashed with John Barrymore on A Bill of Divorcement, openly questioning his ability to remember lines. Even respected director George Cukor admitted she was a handful. Hepburn had zero patience for actors she deemed beneath her. If she thought someone was untalented, she ignored them entirely. She made no effort to be liked, brushing off studio executives and turning down roles that didn't interest her. She even skipped the Academy Awards when she won, dismissing the whole thing as nonsense. Joan Fontaine, sisterly betrayal. The biggest victim of her ruthlessness? Her own sister, Olivia De Havland. Their childhood was filled with tension, with Olivia allegedly bullying Joan and Joan fighting back by stealing roles, awards, and, at times, the spotlight. In 1942, their long-standing feud took center stage at the Academy Awards. Both were nominated for Best Actress, Olivia for Hold Back the Dawn and Joan for Suspicion. When Joan's name was called, she walked past Olivia and extended her hand. Olivia turned away. That moment solidified one of Hollywood's most infamous sibling rivalries. The hostility wasn't just personal, it bled into their professional lives. Fontaine allegedly undercut Olivia at every opportunity, rejecting joint appearances and downplaying her sister's achievements in interviews. Olivia, for her part, dismissed Fontaine as shallow and refused to acknowledge her publicly. When Joan passed away in 2013, Olivia didn't attend the funeral, marking the bitter end of their lifelong feud. Olivia De Havland, the vengeful star. If Joan Fontaine was cold, Olivia De Havland was calculated. She played the long game, whether it was battling studio executives or cutting people out of her life permanently. Her landmark lawsuit against Warner Brothers in 1943 was one of the biggest power moves in Hollywood history. At the time, studios controlled actors with ironclad contracts, extending them indefinitely through suspension penalties. De Havland had enough. She took Warner Brothers to court, won, and reshaped the industry forever. But standing up to the studios made her powerful enemies, and she didn't care. That same attitude extended to her personal life. Her feud with Joan Fontaine wasn't just about professional rivalry, it was deeply personal. Fontaine won an Oscar for Suspicion in 1942, and when she approached De Havland afterward, Olivia allegedly ignored her entirely. Years later, when Fontaine extended an olive branch, Olivia refused to respond. Their estrangement lasted for decades, and even in her 90s, she made it clear there would be no reconciliation. Lana Turner, A Life of Manipulation. Studio heads, lovers, even her own daughter, everyone around her played by her rules. With a single look, she could demand loyalty, silence critics, or turn any situation in her favor. Hollywood adored her glamour, but behind the scenes, her power plays were just as legendary as her films. Her most infamous scandal erupted in 1958. Turner had been entangled with Johnny Stompanato, a mob-connected thug with a violent temper. Their relationship was volatile, full of arguments, threats, and rumors of abuse. On the night of April 4th, it all escalated. Stompanato allegedly lunged at Turner in a rage. But before he could strike, her teenage daughter Cheryl plunged a knife into his stomach. The courts ruled it self-defense, but whispers spread through Hollywood. Some insiders believe Turner carefully shaped the narrative to protect her image, ensuring she remained the tragic victim, not the scandalized star. Jean Harlow, ruthless in the spotlight. Her platinum blonde hair and sultry smile made her Hollywood's golden girl, but behind the camera, she was playing an entirely different game. She wasn't just a star, she was a strategist, maneuvering her way to the top with precision. Harlow knew how to work the studio system, aligning herself with the right people and making herself indispensable to the men in charge. MGM executives adored her, not just for her on-screen appeal, but because she understood how to cultivate an image. She used relationships to secure roles, ensuring that she stayed one step ahead of her competition. If another actress threatened her standing, whispers of a mysterious Harlow clause circulated, meaning her rivals would mysteriously lose out on roles or face sudden career roadblocks. Her life was tragically cut short at just 26 due to kidney failure, but in her brief reign, Harlow cemented herself as a Hollywood power player who never let sentimentality stand in the way of success. Gloria Swanson, the self-serving icon. She wasn't just a silent film star, she was Hollywood royalty, and she made sure everyone knew it. Her extravagant lifestyle, custom-designed gowns, and high-profile romances kept her in the headlines. But behind the glamour was a woman who refused to be controlled. Directors, producers, and co-stars quickly learned that working with her meant playing by her rules, or getting out of her way. Swanson wasn't afraid to bulldoze anyone who threatened her dominance. She had no problem firing directors, rewriting scripts, or walking off a project entirely if it didn't serve her vision. Queen Kelly, 1929, was a prime example. She clashed so intensely with Erich von Stroheim that she had him fired mid-production, effectively killing the film. She later said, "He was a genius, but he wasn't my genius." Her power moves extended beyond the screen. She carried on affairs with some of the most influential men in Hollywood, including Joseph P. Kennedy, who allegedly funneled money into her productions before quietly vanishing from her life. Veronica Lake, Destructive Antics. She had the looks, the talent, and the famous peekaboo hairstyle. What she didn't have? The ability to get along with anyone. Hollywood loved her on screen, but behind the scenes, she was a problem no one wanted to deal with. Her difficult reputation followed her everywhere. Alan Ladd, her frequent co-star, openly despised working with her, despite their undeniable on-screen chemistry. He once admitted that their pairings were only tolerated for box office success. Frederick March, another colleague, didn't hold back either, famously calling her a brainless little blonde. Even Claudette Colbert, known for her diplomacy, refused to work with her again after one disastrous collaboration. Her behavior extended beyond film sets. She skipped important industry meetings, ignored career-saving advice, and made powerful enemies in the studio system. She had no interest in Hollywood politics or playing by the rules, and it cost her. By the 1950s, offers dried up. Bankrupt and forgotten, she spent her final years working as a waitress in a cheap New York bar. Ava Gardner, no patience for weakness. If she walked into a room, you either impressed her immediately or you weren't worth her time. She had a reputation for chewing men up and spitting them out, but Frank Sinatra? He stuck around longer than most. Their relationship was an explosive mix of passion, fights, and public spectacle. When he wasn't giving her what she wanted, she walked away. He begged, wrote letters, made grand gestures. None of it mattered. If she was done, she was done. On set, directors learned quickly that Gardner played by her own rules. She expected perfection, but rarely delivered it herself. Showing up late was a given, and taking direction, only if she respected you. During The Barefoot Contessa, she let everyone know she thought Humphrey Bogart was past his prime. He clapped back, calling her Miss High and Mighty. Tallulah Bankhead, the razor-sharp tongue. She was witty, loud, and completely unapologetic, earning a reputation as one of Hollywood's most unpredictable actresses. Directors, producers, and co-stars never knew what version of her they were going to get. She called Bette Davis a little megalomaniac and dismissed Alfred Hitchcock with, "Don't be so bloody patronizing." On the set of Lifeboat, 1944, Hitchcock had to work around her outrageous behavior, including showing up intoxicated and arguing over lines. She also despised authority. If a director gave an order she didn't like, she'd ignore it or mock them in front of the crew. Bankhead wasn't just difficult, she was reckless. She skipped rehearsals, showed up late, and had no problem cursing out executives. Studios tolerated her antics for a while, but eventually, even Hollywood had enough. Miriam Hopkins, the ultimate backstabber. Miriam Hopkins didn't just compete, she sabotaged. If another actress landed a role she wanted, she didn't take it as a loss. She took it as a challenge. Hollywood wasn't big enough for both her and the competition, and she made sure everyone knew it. Her biggest feud? Bette Davis. Their rivalry was pure venom. When they worked together on The Old Maid, 1939, Hopkins allegedly faked tears in scenes to force retakes, ensuring more screen time for herself. Davis wasn't fooled, later saying, "I wouldn't trust her any further than I could throw her." The tension was so thick that the director had to separate them between takes. Barbara Stanwyck, the Ice Queen. She was cold, calculating, and always in control. Unlike other actresses who relied on charm or connections, she carved her place in Hollywood with pure grit and made sure no one got in her way. She ran her sets like a military operation. Directors either respected her or feared her. There was no in-between. She expected perfection from herself and everyone else, and if you didn't deliver, you were out. While filming Double Indemnity, Fred MacMurray called working with her an endurance test, noting that she had no patience for laziness or hesitation. Stanwyck delivered flawless performances, and she expected the same from everyone around her. Behind the scenes, she was fiercely protective of her career. Rumors of her difficult nature never gained traction because she knew how to control the narrative. Studio executives understood that crossing her was a mistake, and co-stars learned quickly that she didn't tolerate mediocrity. Marlene Dietrich, the puppet master. She understood power better than most men in the industry and made sure she was always the one pulling the strings. Her beauty and talent were undeniable, but it was her cunning that kept her on top. If she wanted a role, she got it. If she wanted someone out of the way, they disappeared. She surrounded herself with influential men, directors, producers, studio heads, carefully cultivating relationships that served her. They weren't just lovers or colleagues. They were pawns in her long game. Josef von Sternberg, the director who helped launch her career, was completely under her control. He shaped her image, but when she was ready to move on, she left him behind without a second thought. Dietrich had no patience for competition. Once, after clashing with a co-star, she reportedly warned, "Your career will be over before you know it," and she meant it. Hedi Lamar, a calculated careerist. While Hollywood fixated on her looks, she was always calculating her next move, making sure she stayed one step ahead of everyone else. Her entrance into Hollywood was no accident. She strategically aligned herself with the right people, impressing powerful studio heads who could make or break careers. MGM's Louis B. Mayer saw her as his next European starlet, but Hedi had conditions. She negotiated a better contract than most newcomers could dream of, proving she wasn't just another pretty face. Once she secured her place at the top, she made sure no one threatened her status. If another actress was gaining momentum, she found ways to outshine them. Studio executives catered to her, partly out of admiration, partly out of fear. If a director or co-star criticized her, she didn't just brush it off, she shut it down completely. As the industry evolved and her star began to fade, she refused to be seen as washed up. She severed ties with Hollywood, retreating from the spotlight rather than accepting smaller roles. Jane Russell, a mean streak behind the smile. Fans loved her no-nonsense attitude, but co-stars and directors often found her impossible to deal with. She spoke her mind without hesitation, even when it got her into trouble. She didn't just clash with directors, she outright defied them. If she thought a scene was beneath her, she'd push back. If she disagreed with a creative choice, she made sure her voice was heard, whether the crew liked it or not. This made working with her a constant battle of wills. Some directors admired her strong personality, but a second time. Russell also had strong opinions about her fellow actors, and she wasn't shy about sharing them. On the set of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, she openly criticized Marilyn Monroe's work ethic, calling her a helpless child who needed constant reassurance. If Russell decided she didn't like someone, they were done. Susan Hayward, the firebrand. She wasn't one to suffer fools, and on set she expected everyone to work as hard as she did. Directors who hesitated on decisions or actors who flubbed lines often found themselves on the receiving end of her fury. She could go from composed to explosive in seconds. One director learned this firsthand when Hayward snapped, "If you don't fix this scene, I will." It wasn't an empty threat. She made sure things were done her way. Her intensity wasn't just limited to film sets. She was known for holding grudges, and if someone crossed her, they weren't getting a second chance. One actress reportedly lost a major role after Hayward made a few calls to the right people. She had the influence, and she wasn't afraid to use it. Many co-stars dreaded working with her twice. Once you were on her bad side, you were there for life. Zsa Zsa Gabor, the Queen of Insults. Hollywood's most famous socialite wasn't interested in being liked, she wanted to be worshipped. Born into Hungarian nobility, she carried herself like a queen, and anyone who failed to treat her accordingly became the target of her razor-sharp wit. She publicly feuded with actresses she deemed beneath her, brushed off directors who tried to give her serious roles, and once declared, "I deserve attention, not direction." Her behavior wasn't just confined to the film industry. She insulted reporters, threw shade at ex-husbands, and famously said of one failed marriage, "I am a marvelous housekeeper. Every time I leave a man, I keep his house." In 1989, after a Beverly Hills police officer pulled her over for an expired license, she responded by slapping him across the face. That led to a court trial where she showed no remorse. She was sentenced to 3 days in jail, which she treated as another Hollywood appearance. Ginger Rogers, the demanding perfectionist. She expected perfection, no exceptions. Whether it was a co-star, director, or cinematographer, if she felt they weren't matching her effort, she let them know, bluntly. Her most famous partnership with Fred Astaire produced some of the greatest dance sequences in film history. But behind the scenes, things were far from harmonious. Rogers insisted on extra rehearsals, nitpicked choreography, and wasn't afraid to push back if she thought Astaire was off his game. He later admitted their rehearsals were exhausting, saying she had an iron will under all that blonde hair. Her control didn't stop at dance. Rogers regularly argued with directors over creative choices and insisted on reshooting scenes until they met her standards, sometimes driving productions over schedule and budget. She may have been a box office draw, but she left plenty of exhausted co-stars and frustrated filmmakers in her wake. Diane Keaton's love life has always been shrouded in mystery and speculation. From her on-screen chemistry with legendary co-stars to secret romances that defied Hollywood norms, her story is one of passion, intrigue, and controversy. The beginning of an iconic career. Diane Hall Keaton was born on January 5, 1946, in Los Angeles, California. Growing up in an artistic family, her mother, Dorothy Diane Keaton, won the Mrs. Los Angeles pageant, and her father, John Newton Ignatius Hall, was a real estate broker and civil engineer. Her journey into the limelight began with her education at Santa Ana High School, Santa Ana College, and the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City. During this period, she changed her last name to Keaton, her mother's maiden name, to avoid confusion with another actress named Diane Hall. Her big break came with the 1968 Broadway musical Hair, where she caught the eye of director Woody Allen. This led to her starring in Allen's Broadway play Play It Again, Sam in 1969, earning a Tony Award nomination. This collaboration marked the beginning of a significant professional and personal relationship. In 1972, Keaton was cast as Kay Adams in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. The film's immense success catapulted her to fame, grossing over $134 million domestically. She reprised her role in the sequels, further solidifying her place in Hollywood. Her portrayal of the quirky and endearing Annie Hall in Woody Allen's 1977 film of the same name brought her widespread acclaim. It was a critical and commercial success, earning over $38 million at the box office and winning the Academy Award for Best Actress. The film also won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay for Allen. Keaton's unique fashion style in Annie Hall, characterized by androgynous clothing and menswear-inspired outfits, sparked a fashion trend that resonated with audiences, making her an unexpected fashion icon. As her career progressed, Keaton continued to choose diverse roles, demonstrating her versatility. From dramatic performances in Reds, 1981, to comedic roles in Baby Boom, 1987, her ability to navigate different genres showcased her talent and range. Through the 1970s and 1980s, she became known for more than just her acting. Her relationships with high-profile co-stars and directors fueled media fascination, laying the groundwork for the rumors and speculations about her personal life that would follow her throughout her career. The Woody Allen romance. Her relationship with Woody Allen began on a professional level but quickly evolved into a deep personal connection. Their first encounter took place during the Broadway production of Play It Again, Sam in 1969, a pivotal moment that marked the start of a long and fruitful collaboration. Allen, celebrated for his unique comedic style and neurotic on-screen persona, found an ideal match in Keaton, whose quirky charm and natural acting talent complemented his vision perfectly. Their professional chemistry was first showcased in the 1972 film Play It Again, Sam, directed by Herbert Ross but penned by Allen. In the film, she played Linda Christie, a role that was well received by audiences and critics alike, further cementing her presence in the film industry. This project set the stage for what would become one of Hollywood's most iconic partnerships. The collaboration between Keaton and Allen reached its pinnacle with the 1977 film Annie Hall. This film was not only a critical and commercial success, but also a groundbreaking work that redefined romantic comedies. Despite their romantic involvement ending in the early 1970s, Keaton and Allen maintained a strong professional bond. They continued to work together on numerous projects throughout the following decades, including notable films such as Manhattan, 1979, and Radio Days, 1987. In interviews, Keaton has often expressed her gratitude for Allen's influence on her career. She has described him as both a mentor and a partner, someone who saw potential in her that she didn't see in herself. This sentiment was evident in a 2013 interview with The Guardian, where she stated, "Woody gave me my career." Despite the controversies surrounding Allen in later years, she remained professionally loyal to him, attributing much of her success to their early work together. Their collaboration extended well into the 1980s and 1990s, with Keaton starring in Allen's films such as Interiors, 1978, and Manhattan Murder Mystery, 1993. Keaton's relationship with Allen was characterized by deep mutual respect and admiration. In a 1977 interview with Newsweek, she spoke candidly about their relationship, saying, "Woody gave me the role of a lifetime. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself." A complicated affair with Warren Beatty. Her relationship with Warren Beatty added another layer of intrigue to her life. They met in the late 1970s while working on the 1981 film Reds. Beatty, who starred in and directed the film, and Keaton, who played the lead female role, shared undeniable on-set chemistry. Their relationship, however, was marked by intensity and passion. Beatty, already a well-known Hollywood heartthrob by the time he met her, was known for his charisma and charm. His reputation as a ladies' man preceded him, and his numerous high-profile relationships had long been the subject of public fascination. The on-set chemistry between Beatty and Keaton was palpable, and it quickly translated into a real-life romance. Their relationship was characterized by deep intellectual conversations and shared creative pursuits. She once remarked in a 2016 interview with Vanity Fair, "Warren was mesmerizing. He had this incredible presence and energy." Despite their strong connection, their relationship was not without its challenges. Beatty's reputation and Keaton's fiercely independent nature often led to clashes. Beatty was known for his meticulous and sometimes controlling approach to filmmaking, while she valued her independence and had a clear vision of her own career path. These differences sometimes caused friction between them, but they also contributed to the passionate and dynamic nature of their relationship. The media closely followed their romance, capturing their public appearances and speculating about their private lives. Paparazzi often photographed the couple at high-profile events, fueling public interest and adding to the pressure on their relationship. Despite the constant media scrutiny, Beatty and Keaton managed to maintain a semblance of privacy, often deflecting questions about their relationship in interviews. Their time together was marked by both professional and personal collaboration. Beyond Reds, they explored other potential projects, although none materialized to the same extent. Their relationship lasted for a few years before eventually fizzling out. The breakup, while amicable, was a result of their differing life goals and the pressures of their respective careers. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote, "Warren was a significant part of my life. He was brilliant, charismatic, and always full of ideas. But we were on different paths. Our relationship was passionate, but we both knew it wasn't meant to last." Al Pacino, a love that transcended films. Her relationship with Al Pacino began on the set of The Godfather, where they played Kay Adams and Michael Corleone. The film, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $134 million in the United States alone. The chemistry between Keaton and Pacino was palpable both on and off the screen. Their romance blossomed during the filming of The Godfather Part II in 1974. Keaton's portrayal of Kay, the wife who becomes increasingly disillusioned with her husband's criminal empire, mirrored some of the complexities of their real-life relationship. In a 2017 interview with People magazine, she recalled, "Al was unlike anyone I had ever known. Intense, dedicated, and incredibly talented. There was an undeniable connection between us." Despite their deep bond, the relationship faced numerous challenges. Pacino, known for his method acting and intense dedication to his craft, often found it difficult to balance his professional and personal life. Keaton, on the other hand, was equally committed to her career but longed for stability and companionship. This dichotomy led to several breakups and reconciliations over the years. Their relationship was marked by both passionate highs and tumultuous lows. In a 2004 interview with The New Yorker, Pacino described her as a significant person in my life. She was my muse, my confidant, and someone who always brought out the best in me. Their mutual respect and admiration for each other were evident, even during their most challenging times. The couple reunited for The Godfather Part 3 in 1990, reprising their iconic roles. The film, though not as critically acclaimed as its predecessors, still showcased their undeniable chemistry. Keaton's performance as Kay, now estranged from Michael but still deeply affected by him, resonated with audiences and critics alike. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Keaton and Pacino continued to navigate their on-again, off-again relationship. Their bond was further complicated by Pacino's reluctance to settle down and have children, a topic that she addressed candidly in her 2011 memoir, Then Again. She wrote, "I wanted a family, a sense of permanence. Al was always the love of my life, but he wasn't ready for that kind of commitment." Despite their eventual breakup, Keaton and Pacino remained close friends and continued to speak highly of each other in public. In a 2014 interview with The Guardian, she said, "Al will always be a part of me. Our relationship was intense and complicated, but it was also filled with love and respect." The brief affair with Sam Shepard. Her brief but intense relationship with playwright and actor Sam Shepard is another intriguing chapter in her romantic history. The two met in the early 1980s, a period marked by significant professional achievements for both. Sam Shepard, known for his brooding charisma and literary prowess, was already an acclaimed playwright by the time he met Keaton. His works, such as Buried Child and True West, had cemented his reputation in the theater world. Keaton, fresh from the success of films like Reds and Annie Hall, was at the peak of her career. Their meeting was a collision of two creative forces. Their affair was relatively short-lived, but left a lasting impression on both. In a 1983 interview with Rolling Stone, Keaton spoke about Shepard with admiration. "Sam is one of the most unique individuals I've ever met. He has this raw, untamed energy that is incredibly captivating," she said. Their relationship was marked by deep intellectual conversations and a shared passion for the arts. The couple worked together on the 1984 film Mrs. Soffel, directed by Gillian Armstrong. She played the title role while Shepard portrayed Ed Biddle, a convict involved in a daring prison escape. Their on-screen chemistry was palpable, reflecting the intensity of their off-screen relationship. Despite the film's mixed reviews, their performances were widely praised, showcasing their ability to bring out the best in each other. In her 2011 memoir, Then Again, Keaton reflected on her time with Shepard. "Sam was a whirlwind of creativity and emotion. Our time together was brief, but it was filled with passion and intellectual stimulation," she wrote. This period was a significant part of her life, shaping her views on relationships and artistic collaboration. The controversy with Steve Jobs. Diane's rumored relationship with Steve Jobs, the visionary co-founder of Apple Inc., is one of the more unusual and controversial chapters in her romantic history. The speculation about their connection began in the late 1980s and early 1990s, a period when Jobs was reshaping the tech world and Keaton was a firmly established Hollywood star. The rumors first surfaced in the tech and entertainment circles, sparked by sightings of the two at various events and private gatherings. The nature of their relationship remained ambiguous, leading to widespread speculation. In a 1990 article in Vanity Fair, an anonymous source close to both Keaton and Jobs claimed there was a definite spark between them. They shared a mutual respect and fascination for each other's work. They were seen together at several high-profile events, including a 1988 benefit gala in San Francisco. Their public appearances fueled media speculation, with tabloids and magazines keen to uncover the truth about their relationship. Despite the attention, both maintained a tight-lipped stance, neither confirming nor denying the rumors. In a 2011 interview with the New York Times, Keaton addressed the speculation with her characteristic wit. "I've always admired Steve's genius, but beyond that, I prefer to keep my personal life personal," she said, neither confirming nor dispelling the rumors. The media frenzy surrounding their rumored relationship highlighted the intersection of Hollywood glamour and Silicon Valley innovation. It was a coupling that intrigued the public due to the stark contrasts in their personalities and professional worlds. Keaton, with her quirky independent spirit, and Jobs, with his intense, often abrasive drive for perfection, seemed an unlikely but fascinating pairing. Despite the persistent rumors, there was no concrete evidence to confirm a romantic relationship between Keaton and Jobs. Their interactions, while undoubtedly significant, remained shrouded in mystery. This ambiguity only added to the intrigue, making it one of the most talked about and least understood aspects of her romantic life. In a 2005 interview with Vanity Fair, an unnamed friend commented on the relationship. "Diane and Steve had a unique connection. Whether it was romantic or purely intellectual, only they know. But there was definitely something special between them," the friend said. The Nicholson enigma. Her rumored involvement with Jack Nicholson is one of Hollywood's most enduring and enigmatic stories. The two first met on the set of the 1981 film Reds, directed by Warren Beatty, where Nicholson played the role of Eugene O'Neill. Although they were never officially a couple, their undeniable chemistry and close friendship led to years of speculation about the true nature of their relationship. Nicholson and Keaton shared a unique bond, marked by mutual respect and a deep understanding of each other's eccentricities. In a 2013 interview with The Guardian, she described Nicholson as one of the most charming and enigmatic people I've ever known. Their camaraderie was evident both on and off the screen, fueling rumors that there might be more than just friendship between them. Their professional collaboration took a significant turn with the 2003 romantic comedy Something's Gotta Give, directed by Nancy Meyers. They starred as Erica Berry and Harry Sanborn in a film that explored the complexities of love and relationships in later life. The movie was a commercial success, grossing over $266 million worldwide, and Keaton's performance earned her a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award nomination. On the set of Something's Gotta Give, the chemistry between Keaton and Nicholson was palpable. Their on-screen romance, filled with humor and genuine affection, led to widespread speculation about their off-screen relationship. In a 2004 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Keaton addressed these rumors, stating, "Jack and I have always had a special connection. He's a dear friend, and our time together on set was magical. But it's just that friendship." Nicholson, known for his charismatic and often unpredictable personality, also spoke highly of Keaton. In a 2003 interview with the New York Times, he said, "Diane is a remarkable woman, both on and off the screen. Working with her was a joy, and our friendship is something I truly cherish." His admiration for Keaton was clear, adding fuel to the ongoing speculation. Their close friendship continued beyond the film's production, with the two often seen together at industry events and social gatherings. Paparazzi captured numerous photos of them sharing laughs and intimate moments, further igniting rumors. Despite this, both Keaton and Nicholson maintained that their relationship was purely platonic. Warren Beatty, who had worked closely with both actors, commented in a 2004 Vanity Fair article, "Jack and Diane have a unique connection that's hard to define. They're kindred spirits, and that kind of bond is rare in this industry." This sentiment was echoed by other friends, who noted the deep understanding and mutual respect between Keaton and Nicholson. The persistent rumors about a controversial secret lover. Throughout her career, Diane Keaton has been known for her enigmatic persona, and nowhere is this more evident than in her references to a significant yet unnamed romantic partner. This mystery man has been a subject of speculation among fans and the media, adding an aura of intrigue to Keaton's already fascinating life. Keaton first hinted at this secret relationship in various interviews during the late 1980s and early 1990s. While she has often been candid about her high-profile romances with Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, and Al Pacino, this particular relationship remained shrouded in secrecy. In a 1995 interview with Vanity Fair, she mentioned, "There was someone very special in my life, someone who had a profound impact on me, but it's a part of my life I choose to keep private." The secrecy surrounding this relationship fueled rumors and speculation. Some suggested it might have been a powerful figure in Hollywood, while others believed it could have been someone entirely outside the industry. The mystery only deepened with Keaton's cryptic comments in subsequent interviews. In a 2001 chat with Oprah Winfrey, she said, "Not everything needs to be shared with the world. Some things are too precious, too personal." Friends and colleagues who were aware of the relationship respected Keaton's desire for privacy. Actor and close friend Jack Nicholson once remarked, "Diane has always been very private about certain aspects of her life. She has her reasons, and those of us who know her respect that." This tight circle of trust ensured that few details about the mystery man ever leaked to the public. Her reluctance to divulge information about this significant other has been linked to her broader views on privacy and fame. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote, "Fame is a double-edged sword. It gives you opportunities, but it also takes away your anonymity. There are parts of my life that I want to keep for myself, and I think that's important." This philosophy explains her guarded approach to discussing this relationship. Despite the lack of concrete details, Keaton's reflections on this mystery man reveal the depth of their connection. She often described him as a stabilizing force in her life, someone who provided emotional support and understanding. In a 2012 interview with The Guardian, she stated, "He was a rock for me during some of the most challenging times in my life. His presence was a constant source of comfort." In a 2018 interview with the New York Times, Keaton offered a rare glimpse into why she chose to keep this relationship private. "Some things are just too sacred to be put on display. I've shared a lot with the world, but there are some things that are mine alone. That relationship is one of them," she said. In 1921, a young actress named Virginia Rappe died under mysterious circumstances at a party hosted by silent film star Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. This controversy was just the beginning. For over a century, Hollywood has been a breeding ground for disturbing rumors that turned out to be all too real. Today we're pulling back the curtain on Tinseltown's darkest truths, the casting couch, early Hollywood's open secret. The term casting couch emerged in the 1920s, referring to a troubling practice where influential men took advantage of aspiring actors for inappropriate favors in exchange for roles. Louis B. Mayer, co-founder of MGM Studios, was notorious for this behavior. Mayer held private meetings with young actresses, often leading to uncomfortable situations. In 1935, dancer Patricia Douglas attended an MGM party where she was reportedly a victim of misconduct by a studio salesman. Despite filing charges, the case was quickly buried. Joan Crawford, who started her career in the 1920s, spoke about her experiences years later. "I never slept with a man I didn't want to. No one ever made me do anything I didn't want to do." However, her words hinted at the pressures faced by many actresses. Marilyn Monroe once said, "Hollywood is a place where they'll pay you $1,000 for a kiss and 50 cents for your soul." This quote reflects the industry's moral bankruptcy. In 1937, child star Shirley Temple, then 9 years old, was inappropriately approached by MGM producer Arthur Freed. When she laughed at him, Freed reportedly exposed himself. Temple's mother quickly removed her from the situation. The silent film era saw its share of scandals too. The Fatty Arbuckle case in 1921 shocked the nation when actress Virginia Rappe died after a party at his hotel. Though Arbuckle was eventually acquitted, the incident shed light on Hollywood's darker side. By the 1930s, the Hays Code was introduced to clean up Hollywood's image. However, behind closed doors, the exploitation continued. Judy Garland's studio-enforced diet pills. Her road to stardom was paved with studio control and dangerous health practices. MGM signed Garland at 13 in 1935. From the start, Studio head Louis B. Mayer criticized her weight, calling her "my little hunchback." By 1938, during the filming of Love Finds Andy Hardy, 16-year-old Garland was put on a strict diet. Studio doctors prescribed Benzedrine and amphetamine for weight loss and seconal barbiturate to help her sleep. This dangerous cocktail kick-started a lifelong struggle with addiction. Garland's daily meal often consisted of just soup, black coffee, and 80 cigarettes, along with the prescribed pills. During the filming of The Wizard of Oz in 1939, the studio wanted her to lose more weight. She was 17 and weighed 94 pounds. In 1943, while filming Girl Crazy, Garland collapsed on set multiple times due to exhaustion and malnutrition. The studio's response was to give her a brief rest before pushing her back to work. Garland later recalled, "They had us working days and nights on end. They'd give us pills to keep us on our feet long after we were exhausted. Then they'd take us to the studio hospital and knock us out with sleeping pills." By 1947, Garland's health had deteriorated significantly. She attempted to end herself on the set of The Pirate. Despite this, MGM continued to push her, leading to her suspension in 1948 due to erratic behavior caused by addiction. "I was in the studio system for 15 years and I thought they were going to kill me," Garland said in a 1967 interview. She suffered numerous breakdowns and was admitted to sanitariums multiple times throughout her career. The long-term effects of this studio-enforced regimen were devastating. Garland struggled with addiction and health issues for the rest of her life. She died in 1969 at age 47 from an accidental overdose, a tragic end tied directly to the abusive practices she endured in her youth. Alfred Hitchcock's obsession with Tippi Hedren. His obsession with Tippi Hedren during the early 1960s revealed a dark side to the famed director. Hedren, a model-turned-actress, was discovered by Hitchcock in a TV commercial in 1961. He immediately signed her to a 7-year contract. Hedren's first role was in The Birds, 1963. During filming, Hitchcock's behavior became increasingly controlling. He dictated her wardrobe off-set and forbade her from socializing with the cast and crew. Hedren later stated, "Every time I'd be talking with a male member of the cast or crew, my next exchange with Hitchcock would be icy." The most harrowing incident occurred during the filming of the attic scene. Hedren was told mechanical birds would be used. Instead, live birds were thrown at her for 5 days straight. She suffered cuts, exhaustion, and a nervous breakdown. When a bird nearly pecked her eye, she snapped, "I think you got your scene, Mr. Hitchcock." In 1964, during the production of Marnie, Hitchcock's obsession intensified. He had a mask of Hedren's face made for his personal use and installed a secret door between his office and her dressing room. Hedren recounted a disturbing incident in her trailer. "He touched me inappropriately. It was uncomfortable and deeply unsettling. The harder I fought him, the more aggressive he became." After Hedren refused his advances, Hitchcock threatened to ruin her career. True to his word, he kept her under contract for 2 years without work, effectively stalling her career. Hitchcock's behavior wasn't limited to Hedren. Actress Diane Baker, who co-starred in Marnie, observed, "I saw Hitchcock verbally abuse Tippi and I was shocked." In 1966, Hedren finally broke free from her contract with Hitchcock. However, the director's influence in Hollywood made it difficult for her to find work. She later said, "He ruined my career, but he didn't ruin my life." Hedren kept silent about these experiences for decades, only speaking out in detail in her 2016 memoir, Tippi. Her story shed light on the abuse of power that was all too common in Hollywood during that era. Roman Polanski's assault case. On March 10, 1977, film director Roman Polanski, then 43, was arrested in Los Angeles. The charge, drugging and misconduct of a 13-year-old girl, Samantha Gailey, now Geimer. The incident occurred at actor Jack Nicholson's home during a photo shoot for French Vogue. According to court documents, Polanski gave Gailey champagne and part of a Quaalude. He then allegedly continued with inappropriate actions despite her objections. Gailey later testified, "I was mostly just on and off saying, 'No, stop.' but I was afraid. Polanski faced legal charges on multiple counts related to inappropriate conduct, including allegations involving the use of a controlled substance and misconduct with a minor. He initially pleaded not guilty to all charges, but later accepted a plea bargain. On August 8, 1977, Polanski pleaded guilty to unlawful activity with a minor. Per the plea deal, the probation report recommended probation. However, on the day of sentencing, February 1, 1978, Polanski fled to France. He had learned that the judge, Lawrence J. Rittenband, planned to sentence him to prison and subsequent deportation. France refused to extradite Polanski due to its limited extradition treaty with the U.S. Polanski continued his film career in Europe, even winning an Oscar for The Pianist in 2003, which he couldn't collect in person. In 2009, Polanski was arrested in Switzerland at the request of U.S. authorities. He spent 67 days in custody before being released and returning to France. Geimer, the victim, has since stated she forgives Polanski and believes the case should be dropped. In a 2013 interview, she said, "I'm not going to carry a bunch of resentment, and much worse things happen to people." Despite this, attempts to resolve the case have been unsuccessful. In 2017, Polanski's offer to return to the U.S. for time served was rejected by L.A. County Superior Court Judge Scott Gordon. As of 2024, Polanski remains a fugitive from the U.S. justice system. Rob Lowe's tape scandal. In July 1988, 24-year-old actor Rob Lowe became embroiled in a controversy that nearly derailed his career. The incident occurred during the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta, where Lowe was supporting presidential candidate Michael Dukakis. On the night of July 17th, Lowe met two young women at a bar and brought them back to his hotel room. Unbeknownst to Lowe, one of the women, 16-year-old Jan Parsons, was underage. The encounter was videotaped, creating what would become one of Hollywood's first celebrity intimacy tape controversies. The tape surfaced months later when Parsons' mother found it and reported it to the authorities. On February 24, 1989, the story broke in the media, causing immediate shockwaves in Hollywood and beyond. Lowe initially denied any wrongdoing, claiming he didn't know Parsons was underage. He stated, "I didn't ask for ID going into a club. It was Atlanta, the home of Coca-Cola, not the home of underage girls." The controversy had severe consequences for Lowe's career. He was dropped from several film projects and lost numerous endorsement deals. His appearance at the 1989 Academy Awards was met with open hostility from some attendees. Legal ramifications followed. Lowe faced criminal charges for misconduct with a minor and distributing explicit material. To avoid prosecution, he agreed to perform 20 hours of community service in his home state of Ohio. The incident also led to a civil lawsuit from Parsons' family, which was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. As part of the settlement, Lowe was required to publicly apologize. In the years following the scandal, Lowe worked to rebuild his career and reputation. He entered rehab for alcohol addiction in 1990, a move he credits with helping him turn his life around. Woody Allen's relationship with Soon-Yi Previn. In January 1992, Mia Farrow discovered unclothed photos of her adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn, in Woody Allen's apartment. Allen, then 56, had been in a relationship with Farrow for 12 years. Soon-Yi was 21 at the time and had been adopted by Farrow and her ex-husband, Andre Previn, years earlier. The discovery sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the public. Allen confirmed the relationship in August 1992, stating, "I'm thrilled." The admission came amid a bitter custody battle between Allen and Farrow over their 3 children. Allen's film, Husbands and Wives, released in September 1992, became unintentionally controversial due to its plot similarities to the real-life scandal. The film's premiere was marked by protests and media frenzy. In 1993, a judge in the custody case called Allen's behavior with Soon-Yi grossly inappropriate. The court denied Allen visitation rights with his daughter Dylan and limited contact with his son Satchel, now Ronan Farrow. Despite the controversy, Allen and Soon-Yi married in Venice on December 23, 1997. Allen was 62, Soon-Yi 27. The ceremony was small, with only a handful of guests present. In a rare 2015 interview with NPR, Allen addressed the relationship's beginnings. "I was paternal. She responded to someone paternal." This statement further fueled critics who found the relationship's power dynamics disturbing. The scandal significantly impacted Allen's career. Several actors, including Greta Gerwig and Timothée Chalamet, later expressed regret for working with him. Amazon Studios terminated a 4-picture deal with Allen in 2019, citing renewed allegations of misconduct by Dylan Farrow. As of 2024, Allen and Soon-Yi remain married and have 2 adopted daughters. The controversy continues to spark debates about power, consent, and morality in Hollywood relationships. R. Kelly's illegal marriage to Aaliyah. On August 31, 1994, R&B singer R. Kelly, then 27, illegally married his 15-year-old protégée Aaliyah in a secret ceremony in Rosemont, Illinois. The marriage certificate falsely listed Aaliyah's age as 18. Kelly had met Aaliyah 3 years earlier when she was 12. He became her mentor, producer, and lead songwriter for her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, released in May 1994. The album's title now seems disturbingly prophetic. Vibe magazine published a copy of the marriage certificate in December 1994. The revelation sparked immediate controversy. Aaliyah's family was reportedly furious and moved quickly to have the marriage annulled in February 1995. Kelly's former tour manager, Demetrius Smith, later admitted to obtaining a fake ID for Aaliyah. In the 2019 documentary Surviving R. Kelly, Smith stated, "I was in the room when they got married. I'm not proud of that." Both Kelly and Aaliyah initially denied the marriage. In a 1994 interview, Aaliyah said, "I'm not married. That's all there is to it." She maintained this stance until she died in a plane crash in 2001. The illegal marriage came to light again during Kelly's 2019 arrest on federal charges. Prosecutors alleged Kelly bribed a government official in Illinois to create a fake ID for Aaliyah. In 2021, during Kelly's exploitation trial, a witness testified that Kelly married Aaliyah because he believed she was pregnant with his child. The marriage would have protected Kelly from charges. Kelly was ultimately convicted on all 9 counts against him, including racketeering and exploitation. The illegal marriage to Aaliyah was a key part of the prosecution's case. Harvey Weinstein's decades of serious misconduct. On October 5, 2017, the New York Times published an exposé detailing nearly 3 decades of coercion allegations against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. The article, by Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey, cited interviews with numerous women in the film industry. Among the first accusers were actress Ashley Judd and former Weinstein employee Laura Madden. Judd recounted a 1997 incident where Weinstein invited her to his hotel room and asked for a massage. Madden described similar experiences in the early 1990s. The article revealed that Weinstein had reached at least 8 settlements with women who accused him of unwanted physical contact and advances. These settlements, dating back to 1990, were often accompanied by non-disclosure agreements. 5 days after the Times article, The New Yorker published Ronan Farrow's investigation, which included 13 more women's accounts of alleged abuse by Weinstein. 3 women accused Weinstein of SA. Actress Rose McGowan, who had alluded to her experience for years, publicly accused Weinstein of serious misconduct on October 12, 2017. She stated she was paid $100,000 in 1997 to sign a non-disclosure agreement. By October 31st, over 80 women had come forward with allegations against Weinstein. The list included high-profile actresses like Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, and Salma Hayek. Weinstein was dismissed from the Weinstein Company on October 8, 2017. He was later arrested and charged in New York on May 25, 2018, for serious misconduct. On February 24, 2020, Weinstein was found guilty of 2 serious offenses and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Bill Cosby's serial assaults. For decades, Bill Cosby was known as America's dad, beloved for his role on The Cosby Show. However, beneath this wholesome image lurked a serial predator whose crimes spanned half a century. The first public accusation against Cosby came in 2005 when Andrea Constand filed a lawsuit alleging he drugged and acted inappropriately toward her in 2004. During the case, 13 other women came forward with similar stories. The suit was settled out of court in 2006 for $338 million. Despite these allegations, Cosby's career continued largely unaffected until October 16, 2014. During a stand-up performance in Philadelphia, comedian Hannibal Buress seriously referred to Cosby, rekindling public interest in the allegations against him. In the following months, dozens of women came forward with stories of coercion dating back to the 1960s. Many described a similar pattern. Cosby would offer them drinks, which were allegedly drugged, and then essay them while they were incapacitated. On December 30, 2015, Cosby was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated indecent moves against Andrea Constand. This was the first criminal case against Cosby, as most other allegations fell outside the statute of limitations. Cosby's first trial in 2017 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. However, in a retrial on April 26, 2018, Cosby was found guilty on all 3 counts. On September 25, 2018, he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison. During the trial, 5 other women testified about their experiences with Cosby, establishing a pattern of behavior. One of these women, Janice Dickinson, testified that Cosby coerced her in 1982 after giving her a pill. Cosby's conviction was overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on June 30, 2021, due to a violation of his due process rights. He was released from prison the same day, having served nearly 3 years. Kevin Spacey's predatory behavior. On October 29, 2017, actor Anthony Rapp alleged that Kevin Spacey made a misappropriate advance toward him in 1986, when Rapp was 14 and Spacey was 26. This accusation, published in a BuzzFeed article, marked the beginning of Spacey's downfall. Spacey responded on Twitter, claiming no memory of the incident, but offering an apology. In the same statement, he came out as gay, a move widely criticized as an attempt to deflect from the allegations. Following Rapp's accusation, numerous other men came forward with similar stories. On November 1, 2017, actor Roberto Cavazos alleged that Spacey groped him in the mid-2000s at the Old Vic Theatre in London, where Spacey was artistic director from 2004 to 2015. The Old Vic conducted an internal investigation revealing 20 personal testimonies of alleged inappropriate behavior by Spacey between 1995 and 2013. Many of these incidents occurred on the theater's premises. On November 3, 2017, Netflix cut all ties with Spacey, halting production on House of Cards and shelving his film Gore. Ridley Scott reshot Spacey's scenes in All the Money in the World, replacing him with Christopher Plummer just weeks before the film's release. In 2018, Spacey was charged with indecent conduct in Nantucket, Massachusetts, for allegedly groping an 18-year-old man in 2016. The case was later dropped when the accuser invoked his Fifth Amendment rights during a hearing about his missing phone. In May 2022, Spacey was charged with 4 counts of SA against 3 men in the UK, dating back to incidents between 2005 and 2013. In July 2023, Spacey was found not guilty of these charges in a UK court. Despite the court verdict, Spacey's career has been irreparably damaged. His last major film role was in 2018's Billionaire Boys Club, which earned only $618 on its opening day.
While millions of people were engrossed in the incredible movies and shows produced by the industry, both in their homes and cinemas, they remained oblivious to the darkness lurking within. Beyond the glamour and talent that Hollywood exuded, there was an underworld that was very different from what was being shown in the media. From rumors of murders to the mistreatment of actors and numerous atrocities that remained buried and far away from the public eyes, Hollywood was proved to be a dark and chaotic place. Well, let's just say nothing is hidden under the sun, because some of these dark and disgusting things that happened in the industry have now been confirmed to be true. The horrific fake film shoot. Anyone who knew about the film studio MGM knew that they were notorious for their dark deeds and would do almost anything to make a scandal disappear, and in order to protect their own. They had the money, the power, and the fixers, but when a biographer, David Sten, began to investigate them, he uncovered some secrets that they kept buried for years. One of these was what happened to a 20-year-old dancer named Patricia Douglas at a 1937 MGM party. According to David Sten, MGM did everything in their power to suppress the scandal when it erupted. They even went as far as hiding evidence and doing all they could to silence the victim, but it seems like her innocence screamed louder than their efforts, and soon enough their deeds were brought to the light. Although MGM was successful at burying the story back in the 1930s, David Sten found some evidence that proved that Patricia's story was real. She wasn't the young wannabe star trying to take down a powerful studio. She was a young, vulnerable girl whose innocence was taken away at an MGM party. In the words of the biographer, I managed to find old newspaper coverage, previously unseen photos, damning studio documentation, long-forgotten legal records, privately shot cinematographic evidence hidden in an MGM film vault, and, most amazing, Patricia Douglas herself. After 65 years of silence, she was finally able to tell her side of the story. According to Patricia Douglas, that incident completely broke her and turned her life upside down. Before that day, she was living a normal life and was already a part of the entertainment industry. Her love for dancing opened her up to opportunities, and at the age of 15, she had already appeared in 2 classics. Her mother was doing well financially, so she didn't need to work. She only took on a few jobs because she enjoyed it and wanted to keep herself busy. This chestnut-haired lady with porcelain skin would later get a casting call on the 2nd of May, 1937 that changed her life. She had no idea that this call was not what she thought it was, and although she hesitated for a while, she finally said yes. Looking back on that day, Patricia regrets saying yes to that call. In her words, "They never mentioned it was for a party, ever. I wouldn't have gone. Oh God, I wouldn't have gone." Although she and hundreds of other girls were invited for this so-called shoot, they would soon discover that this was no film shoot. It was a party that Louis B. Mayer had, organized to celebrate his salesman for a job well done, but this was no ordinary party. It was going to an alcohol-fueled party where all manner of atrocities would happen. The studio had become the greatest studio in Hollywood, and they bagged distribution deals that will keep them on top for several years. This party is their way of celebrating. Patricia Douglas was one out of the 120 young female dancers that received the casting call. It will surprise you to know that a well-known casting director made these calls so the girls had no idea what was about to happen. They were supposed to be dressed in fitted cowgirl outfits, and as soon as they got to the studio, they were transported to an unknown location for this party. On getting there, Patricia saw over 300 men partying, smoking, and taking all kinds of substances. She didn't see cameras, a crew, or lights. Patricia immediately started to feel uncomfortable, as she had never had any sexual encounter before. She certainly didn't want to be in such a wild party. Sadly, there was no way any of the girls could escape. As the party went on, a particular salesman called David Rose began to admire Patricia. He pretended to want to teach her a dance step, and before she knew it, he and other friends held her down and poured liquor down her throat. Soon enough, Patricia began to feel sick, and when she went outside to get some air, David Ross dragged her to the parking lot and took advantage of her in one of the cars. Interestingly, a parking attendant witnessed the whole thing, but he later denied. Patricia did not keep quiet about what happened. She told her mother about it, and they were able to hire an attorney, but every legal step she took proved futile. No one believed her. One can only imagine how many other girls went through a similar experience that night. Patricia, the only person who was bold enough to speak up, was shut down and called a liar by MGM. With their connections, money, and power, they were able to shut the case down. Among the evidence that was later found was a letter from publisher William Randolph Hearst to Louis B. Mayer saying, "Shut this down. Make her stop." Do you realize how damaging this is to the whole movie picture industry? With the help of biographer David Sten, she was able to document what happened to her in the documentary titled Girl 27 before she passed on. The director with weird sexual preferences. After several decades of whining, dining, and having wild sexual encounters with celebrities, Scotty Bowers published a book titled Full Service: My Adventures in Hollywood and the Secret Sex Lives of the Stars. Bowers, who was said to have been a go-to guy for setting up all manner of trysts for some of Hollywood's most famous stars, decided to pen down all the escapes that these stars were involved in. While some of his celebrity clients were closeted gays and lesbian, other clients liked things that were weird and freaky. The revelations she made about Charles Laughton left everyone in shock. To the rest of the world, Charles Laughton was a brilliant director. He was a highly respected and influential figure in the film industry. Charles Laughton was an English stage and film actor as well as a director. Truth be told, his talent was recognized early in his career, and he gained fame for his versatility as an actor. He excelled in portraying a wide range of characters, from dramatic to comedic roles. Most people who were entertained by his works revered him. Some of his most notable performances include his portrayal of the hunchbacked bell ringer Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1939, Captain Bligh in Mutiny on the Bounty in 1935, and his chilling role as the tyrannical barrister in Witness for the Prosecution in 1957. Everyone saw him as a talented man who was laser-focused on his career, but no one knew the secrets he was keeping from the world. In addition to his acting prowess, Laughton also ventured into directing, where he demonstrated a keen eye for storytelling and visual composition. His directorial debut was with the film The Night of the Hunter in 1955, which has since been recognized as a classic of American cinema despite its initial commercial failure. Laughton's impact on the film industry was profound, and he was highly respected by his peers. Throughout his career, he received numerous accolades, including an Academy Award for Best Actor for his role in The Private Life of Henry VIII in 1933. Apparently, when he was achieving all these, he was busy behind closed doors doing things that would have shocked his fans. According to Bowers, Charles's secret sexual activities were very different from that of his celebrity friends. He said Charles was into scat proclivities. Bowers revealed that Charles liked it when his sexual partners released on him, and on some occasions, he spread these substances on a sandwich and ate it. Bowers didn't judge this act, as he was an open-minded person who believed that people should do whatever they wanted, and in his words, "The practice certainly didn't turn me on, but it was patently clear that it was regarded as a normal and acceptable part of sexual activity by its devotees, with Charles Laughton being one of them and Ty Power another. So who was I to judge? To each his own." Who would have thought that this talented man was involved in such sexual acts behind closed doors? Although there were already rumors about what he was involved in, Bowers' book confirmed the rumors and went into detail about what this celebrated director was doing behind closed doors. Charlie Chaplin and underage girls. He was a highly successful actor who was well respected in the industry. He was known to have inspired many other actors, but when rumors began to circulate about his preference in women, a lot of people lost respect for him. They simply couldn't believe it. Charlie Chaplin, a towering figure in the world of comedy, mesmerized audiences with his timeless humor and poignant performances on the silver screen. Yet, behind the laughter, his personal life was shrouded in controversy, particularly concerning his romantic entanglements. Soon enough, his secret preferences when it came to women became a subject of both fascination and scrutiny. Truth be told, Chaplin's predilection for marrying significantly younger women was evident throughout his life. His first marriage to 16-year-old Mildred Harris at the age of 29 set a pattern that would repeat itself. Despite the considerable age gap, Chaplin seemed drawn to youthful exuberance and innocence. However, his marriages were not devoid of tumult. Harris and Chaplin's union dissolved after 2 years. It would surprise you to know that he went on to date and marry yet another girl that was younger than him. The pattern persisted with Chaplin's subsequent marriages. At 35, he wed 16-year-old Lita Gray, embarking on a controversial journey that raised eyebrows even in the permissive circles of Hollywood. Their marriage was mired in scandal, with Gray alleging that she was coerced into matrimony due to her pregnancy with Chaplin's child. The marriage ultimately ended in a highly publicized divorce, amplifying the whispers surrounding Chaplin's romantic exploits. People found it difficult to reconcile the man he was in Hollywood to the man that was getting married to underage girls. In 1932, Chaplin found himself entangled with 22-year-old Paulette Goddard, who later revealed that she had initially misrepresented her age, claiming to be 17 when they first met. Despite the revelation, Chaplin pursued the relationship, culminating in marriage when Goddard was 26 and he was 47. Their union endured for 6 years, characterized by both moments of bliss and strain, emblematic of Chaplin's tumultuous romantic life. However, it was Chaplin's fourth and final marriage that garnered the most attention and controversy. At the age of 54, he wed 18-year-old Una O'Neill, the daughter of esteemed playwright Eugene O'Neill. This union, though met with incredulity and raised eyebrows, endured the test of time, remaining intact until Chaplin's passing. O'Neill's youthfulness and Chaplin's status as a renowned artist of his era magnified the intrigue surrounding their relationship. Chaplin's preference for younger women, coupled with the circumstances of his marriages, fueled speculation and gossip within the industry, while some viewed his actions as indicative of a romantic spirit unbound by societal norms. Others condemned his behavior as exploitative and predatory. The allegations against Chaplin ranged from accusations of manipulation to outright abuse, with his choices seemingly confirming the suspicions harbored by his detractors. There were even rumors that he fled to a different country at a certain point in time in order to avoid certain statutory laws. It seemed like he couldn't help himself, but most people who heard about it were disappointed. They couldn't believe that such a respected man was involved in such. However, despite the condemnation he got from others, he didn't hide the fact that he preferred underage girls. She adopted her own child. Before he became a Hollywood star, it was said that Clark Gable was friends with some questionable people. Perhaps this was why he reached out to a fixer when he discovered that he got a young actress pregnant. What was done after that forever traumatized the child and made her grow up believing that she didn't have parents. If anyone was the epitome of Hollywood masculinity, it was Clark Gable. This charming, leading man-made hearts swoon across the globe. He was the kind of guy you'd imagine tipping his hat as he sauntered into a room exuding confidence. And in 1934, he was smack dab in the middle of one heck of a scandal that involved a young actress named Loretta Young. She was a rising starlet with doe eyes and a smile that could light up the silver screen. At just 22, she was already making waves in Hollywood, capturing hearts with her talent and beauty. But little did anyone know she was about to become entangled in a scandalous affair with none other than the dashing Clark Gable. A 34-year-old Gable, already married, diving headfirst into a clandestine romance with the much younger Loretta Young. Their flirtation soon turned into a scandalous affair, and to complicate matters further, Young became pregnant. It was the kind of situation that could spell disaster for both their careers and reputations. Some reports claim that Gable actually forced himself on the actress and that the sexual activities between them were not consensual. When Clark Gable realized how messy the situation was, he reached out to the one person that could fix it, Eddie Mannix, a fixer with connections deep in the heart of Hollywood. He wasn't just any friend to Gable, he was the kind of friend who knew how to clean up messes, no matter how messy they were. Mannix's solution was as ingenious as it was morally dubious. He orchestrated a plan for Young to fake adopt her own child, effectively concealing the scandal of being an unwed mother. It was a move straight out of the Hollywood playbook. Young, determined to protect her child from judgment, went along with Mannix's plan, confiding only in the inner circles of Hollywood's elite. And so Judy, as she would later be named, grew up believing that Loretta Young adopted her. But as Judy grew older, the truth became harder to conceal. It was difficult to ignore the resemblance between Judy and Clark Gable. Soon enough, rumors began to spread, and people started asking questions. Years passed, but secrets have a way of coming to light. On Judy's wedding day, she confronted her mother, demanding to know the truth, and in a moment filled with emotions and regret, Young finally revealed the truth to her daughter. Judy herself later confirmed the truth in her autobiography, Uncommon Knowledge, laying bare the secrets that had been buried for so long. In the end, Eddie Mannix's solution may have spared his friend Clark Gable from immediate scandal, but it couldn't shield him from the consequences of his actions forever. This decision certainly did not spare Judy from the trauma of growing up without parents. Why Mary Nolan had 15 abdominal surgeries. If you have ever heard about Hollywood fixers, then the name Eddie Mannix certainly rings a bell. He was the one who was responsible for making most of MGM Studios' scandals disappear. Whenever something occurred and it could damage the image of the studio, he would go behind the scenes and clean up the mess before the public got to know about it. However, in July 1935, he was not doing someone else's dirty laundry. The scandal was right at his doorstep. His former lover had publicly accused him of maltreating her and ruining her life. He denied all the allegations, but when her friends and family began to speak up about what he did to her, things got a little complicated and he had to find a solution and find it fast. Mary Nolan, Mannix's ex-lover, was a well-known actress in the 1920s. Truth be told, life and career were marked by both successes and personal struggles. Nolan began her career as a Ziegfeld Follies showgirl before transitioning to silent films. She quickly gained attention for her striking beauty and talent on screen. Mary Nolan, initially performing under the name Imogen Robertson in Germany, began her film career there with Verborgene Gluten in 1925, followed by Die Feuertanzerin, which garnered her favorable reviews and a contract offer from Universum Film AG. She worked steadily in Germany until 1927, declining offers from Hollywood producers until Joseph M. Schenck of United Artists convinced her to return to the United States. Upon her return, Nolan faced scrutiny from the press and women's groups due to her past scandal, prompting United Artists to suggest a name change to Mary Nolan. She made 2 films with United Artists before joining Universal Pictures in August 1927, where she received good reviews for her role in Good Morning Judge. In the same year, she was said to have been involved in a relationship with Eddie Mannix, who allegedly used his connections to help boost her career. Mannix was married at the time, so they kept their affair a secret for as long as they could. Nolan's career received a significant boost when she was loaned to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer for West of Zanzibar in 1928, starring alongside Lon Chaney and Lionel Barrymore. The film was a hit, as was her subsequent loan to MGM for Desert Nights in 1929, opposite John Gilbert, further solidifying her status in Hollywood. However, Mannix and Nolan's affair ended abruptly in 1929. While no one knows for sure why the affair ended, it was said that the actress became an emotional wreck in the following years. Her career began to decline rapidly, and she was said to have displayed erratic behavior on sets. After a long battle with substance abuse and financial problems, her life was in shambles. It was clear that there was a lot of pain buried deep within her, but no one knew what was causing it. It was in 1935 that Mary Nolan decided to open up about what she went through in the hands of Eddie Mannix. Initially, it seemed like a publicity stunt by a desperate actress, but as time went on, people began to see that her claims were not far-fetched from what others had accused Mannix of. According to her, she lived with him in the Ambassador Hotel from the year 1927 to 1931, and they were actively in an affair at the time. As time went on, he began to treat her badly and would even go as far as hitting her and inflicting wounds on her body. She also claimed that he was responsible for the decline of her career and that he allegedly used his influence to ruin her career at a certain point. However, the most shocking part of her story was on the day he attacked her and hit her abdominal area so badly that she had to be hospitalized. The damages he caused were so severe that she had to undergo over 15 surgeries in order to survive. After she sued him, he denied all she had said and claimed that she was using the story to gain fame and sympathy from the public. But despite his claims, Mary Nolan had a solid army of witnesses behind her. Her friends and family revealed he maltreated her during the time that they were together. He also allegedly forced her to terminate multiple pregnancies, and there were times when she had to go on set with bruises because of how badly he hit her. As expected, Mannix did everything in his power to bury the story. It was said that he sent a private detective to her house to threaten her, and this was what made her drop the lawsuit. While there was no concrete evidence, anyone who heard about Mannix's heinous crimes knew that there was at least an atom in Mary's story. In the end, Mannix won and was able to bury a story that could have potentially ruined his image and career.